Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into the PTA. I don't even know what to call this, man. We're just going to do a little NFC North Week 12 preview tonight. Just kind of hang out in here. Very, very casual. Nothing, no hard itinerary, I guess is the right word to say. The schedule to keep to. We're just going to hang out in here and talk ball tonight. Didn't think I was going to be back home in time to do a live stream, so we didn't have anything planned. And I thought, you know what? Let's just go around the horn and preview some of the games around the NFC North and some playoff implications as well. So hopefully everybody's had an awesome Saturday, man. We were out shopping today. We went out and grabbed a great lunch at a place called Blue Moose. I don't know if that's a nationwide chain or not, but man, there were TVs everywhere, college football on everywhere, a little chill in the air. It don't get any better than this time of year. So hopefully everybody had an awesome Saturday. And some of the guys may jump in here. I sent several invites out, very, very short notice, 3 seconds before we went live. Hey, if anybody wants to jump on, jump on. So I doubt anybody will, but if they do, everyone's welcome, obviously. So I see the chat's already filling up here. Mike Berry in the house. We got Chris, the casual in, Coach Lynn, the normal crew in here. Deadfish, good to see you, sir. Who else we got in here? Let's see. You guys are lighting it up. Paging Dr. Crutch, what's up? We got iRock in the house. Best hair on YouTube and Twitter. No doubt about it. United Bates in here. What's up, Bates? Hopefully everybody's having an awesome day. Mitchell's mommy in the house too. So, like I said, we're just going to kind of talk. What's up, Dan? Good to see you, buddy. We're just going to get in here and talk a little NFC North. We didn't get a chance to do it this week, man. The week kind of got away from me, but again, this is just going to be a very casual conversation. So what I thought we would do, let's jump into the NFC North matchups, and let's do it through the PFF preview, kind of how we do the Packers every week. And let's start here with the Steelers at the Bears. And I'm going to try to listen again. There's going to be a little bit of dead air. I'm going to try to focus on the chat a little bit more tonight and include everybody. So hopefully we don't put anything on the screen that gets me canceled. So don't you knuckleheads try anything weird, all right? But before we get into everything, if y'all would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. Click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future, and let's just talk a little ball. So we got the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the Windy City to face the Chicago Bears. Steelers come in at 6-4, right? They're 5-5 against the spread. The Bears are 7-3, 8-4 against the spread. Or I'm sorry, 6-4 against the spread. Y'all like that math ain't mathically. So this matchup, man, I think this is going to be a good game. I think it's going to be a close game. You know, it's really a test for the Bears. You know, the big knock on the Bears is they haven't really played anybody tough, right? They played, I think, if I remember correctly, all of their wins have come against teams below 500 this season. And you know, listen, I try not to dunk on that stat too much because you can only play the schedule that's in front of you. And the Bears just continue to find a way to win ball games, you know, as much as we like to make fun of the Chicago fan base in here. And we'll probably have some Bears fans hop in. If so, welcome in. We'll try to keep it civil in here this evening. But let's see what the chat says before we dive into all the numbers. I see everybody kind of talking about it. Give me your take on this Pittsburgh Steelers at the Bears matchup. Deadfish says, hoping Aaron can win maybe his last game against the Bears. It's a great point. You know, and it's weird, Deadfish, because I thought for sure this would be Aaron's last year, you know. But then as the season started off and the Steelers kind of started hot, I guess you could say hot, better than some people thought they were going to perform. When they came into this season, maybe through the first quarter of the season, I kind of got the vibe like Aaron may be back. I don't know how you guys feel about that. So maybe he will come back next year, but nonetheless, like Deadfish is saying, this might be the last time he travels to Chicago. And it's a fun rivalry there. I love how he prods just enough but still gives a little bit of credit to the Bears, their fan base, all that, and how special it is to play in Chicago and all that. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what Aaron can do there against his old rival, old NFC North rival in the Chicago Bears. Packer fan Nick in the chat says, if they win a playoff game, I think he'll be back. That's a great point. Great point, Nick. United Bates says, Perk Rogers lights it up. Let's go. I think we've actually got the sound bot from that, if I remember.
On my knee.
You know, with the knee, Perk Rogers game, it's going to be the wrist, Perk Rogers game. What we don't need him out there doing, Bates, is coming into the huddle like this.
I'm not going to lie. I was faded. I ain't going to lie. I was faded. Like,
So hopefully he's got everything buttoned up there and he can come in and play a hell of a game against the Chicago Bears. So let's look at some of the numbers here. All right. The point spread currently for the Steelers and the Bears. The Bears are 2.5-point favorites. Now they're at home, right? Anywhere from 1.5 to 3 points is typically what you catch at home. So if that were the case, you'd say, let's say it's the old school 3 points, right? Okay, you automatically get 3 points for playing at home, and then you're just 2.5-point favorites. That would suggest maybe the Steelers are half-point favorites. Now, if you subscribe to the no, it's changed to 1.5. It's no longer 3 points. If you go that route, then you would say, okay, the Bears are basically 1-point favorites here when you kind of remove the differential. However, when we're talking about the money, 77% of the money is on the Steelers plus 2.5. All right. 63% of the tickets are on that bet. And then the money line just winning outright, you've got 51% of the money is on the Steelers to win, but 58% of the slips are on the Bears. That tells me you got a whole bunch of people not betting a whole lot of money, probably some Bears fans putting a little money on their hometown crowd. Listen, we can't hate them for that, right? So again, that's kind of how that shakes out. When you look at the PFF projection, they've got it at 2.4 points. So that would suggest it's a little bit closer than that 2.5, obviously. Let's look at the overall rankings here according to team metrics on PFF's website. Yeah, she's seen the house, Aaron. I got to hit this real quick. Aaron said, Clayton, did Mandy see the new house? He was showing me the Titletown condos over there overlooking the field at Titletown right next to Lambeau Field, $1.7 million. I said, Aaron, get out of here with that crap. I don't need you sharing that with Mandy. We've looked at those before, not that we were interested in buying, but I think when they first went on sale, there were some that were like $700,000. And she was like, Clayton, if we shut up, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear you try to justify us spending that much money on a home in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So I'm looking at the 2 to 250 range. I don't know, about a half a mile from Lambeau. That's close enough for me, right? So yeah, you make sure you don't bring that up again, Aaron. I don't appreciate that. So you're trying to tap into my bottom line there. But all right, overall ranking. Pittsburgh is ranked 19th. The Bears are 16th. All right, let's switch over to defense. Defensively, the Pittsburgh Steelers are ranked 14th. The Chicago Bears are ranked 15th. This is according to the PFF metrics, okay? And we can cross-check with some of our PTA power ranking, spreadsheet, I guess you could say, and see how we feel there. Offensively, they've got the Bears 9th and the Steelers 20th, okay? So when you kind of look at those numbers, and it suggests, okay, Steelers have a slightly, and I mean slightly better defense. The Bears have the much better offense. I kind of agree with that, man. When you look at points per play, and I won't put it on the screen, I'll just read it off to you guys. When it comes to overall power ranking, I've got Chicago in the 15th spot, all right? However, when you look at offensive points per play, they're 12th, and offensive yards per play, they're 8th. They got a pretty good running attack, and the big thing is they protect the football and they take the ball away. Their turnover differential, they are first in the National Football League in turnover differential. So that's something to kind of that's going to play a big role there, right? Now, when you look at the strength of schedule, the Bears have played the 29th toughest schedule, right? Although Bears fans would suggest that's not the case, we all know it's true. They're definitely in the bottom third of the league, no doubt bottom third, maybe even the bottom 3 to take it a little step further there. So strength of schedule for the Pittsburgh Steelers, what they played is 26. So pretty close, right? Pretty close to each other. Average snaps, the Bears are getting 70 snaps on offense. The Steelers only getting 59. All right. Percentage of run plays. You got the Bears running the ball 40% of the time. The Steelers running it 39% of the time. So really close there. EPA per run, the Bears are sitting at an even 0. And the Steelers are at a negative 0.07. So the Bears have the edge in the running game. And then EPA per pass, it looks like they've got the edge there as well. Really close there. The Steelers coming in at 0.03 and the Bears coming in at 0.07 in EPA per pass. Now, they're showing Mason Rudolph as the starter. We know that's not going to be the case, at least everything I've heard. You guys let me know in the chat if you've heard anything different, whether or not Aaron may not be playing in this game. I'd love to know if any other information has come down the pike. Last I heard, he was planning on playing in this game. So that obviously changes a bit. I think Aaron will do a good job of protecting the football. Matter of fact, if we look at the team rankings for Pittsburgh, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers as the 10th best team in the league with an 11.7 score. Offensive points per play, they're 7th. Defensive points per play allowed, they're 10th. All right. And that's not my opinion. Those are factual stats, okay, in terms of team rankings. And then offensive yards per play, they're 19th, however. So they're not moving the ball very effectively. However, they're scoring a lot of points. Defensive yards per play allowed, they're 17th. So kind of mediocre on both of those metrics. And turnover differential, they're 5th best in the league. So what you got is two teams that are top 5 essentially, right? In protecting the football, taking the football away. The Bears are number 1 in turnover margin, and the Steelers are number 5 in that regard. We got NFW Bosco in the house with the super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. He says, my first game, I'm assuming I apologize. My first game at Lambeau, I'm staying at Clayton's. No, you ain't, sir. No, you ain't. All right. Now, listen, it's a dream of mine, though. Long-term goal, long-term goal. I've told everybody this on the show before. Man, I'd love to get to the point where I could buy tickets for a luxury box at Lambeau Field. It'd be a season ticket holder in that regard, one of the fat cats, and just give out 10 random tickets to viewers each week, right? And hey, come watch the game with us type thing. You know, I'm not a huge fan of like Barstool Sports, probably because my biggest the biggest saturation I've gotten from Barstool Sports is Big Cat and the Bears ones, because I love going on there and just watching their heartbreak every year, watching the live streams and stuff. But I got to say, I do admire them all kind of getting together, hanging out, watching a ball game together like that. Imagine being able to do that at Lambeau Field in the box, right? Or whatever your favorite stadium is. If there's fans from other NFC North teams in here, right? Same type thing. I think that would be absolutely awesome. But yeah, you probably won't want to stay in the house. I'm going to end up getting there, Bosco. I appreciate the super chat, sir. Appreciate it. Now, maybe we can get Aaron to buy one. Our Aaron Rodgers, not the Aaron Rodgers, get one of those townhouses, one of those condominiums right next to Lambeau. We'll go over and crash on his couch. How's that feel, Aaron? Huh? See what you did here? Been holding LOL. We are all staying at Clayton. So you ain't, sir. No, you ain't. So no, it's I love the houses too, right there next to Lambeau, man. I know they're overpriced, but are they really overpriced? I mean, if you had the extra money, wouldn't you pay for it to live right across the street from Lambeau Field? It'd be awesome, man. Be absolutely awesome. So again, that's kind of how the Steelers and the Bears shake out here. I think it's going to come down to who protects the football better. Now, the thing about the Bears is they're taking the ball away way more often than they're giving the ball away. That's why their turnover differential is that way, right? So they're finally facing a team this week that protects the football really, really well. So if it comes down to who protects the football the best, I kind of look at matchups too individually. Let me ask you guys this. Who's the better head coach? And I don't really have any, I haven't really put any thought into this. I look at several different matchups when I'm trying to break down who has the actual advantage in games. I'm pretty good at getting the score fairly close to what I think it will be. But Pittsburgh Steelers, you got Mike Tomlin, Super Bowl winning coach, but boy, he hasn't had any postseason success in a very, very, very long time. You got Ben Johnson, the up-and-comer. Listen, I got to tip my cap. I think he's done a hell of a job taking that offense, turning it into essentially a top 10 offense. He's right there around it. If he's not top 10, you got to at least put him in the top 15, maybe top 12, right? Some would say it's top 5. I'm not quite there. I think top 10, you're being respectful either way. So which coach has the advantage there? Which one? And when you ask that question, try to remove the bias, you know, the how you see that coach because you don't like that he did this or he coaches that team. If you had one game to win, and you had to pick between those two coaches, who would it be? Right? That's kind of how I look at that. That's tough. Ben Johnson, the hot up-and-coming coach, right? And then you got Mike Tomlin, the grizzled veteran, right? But hasn't had a whole lot of success in quite some time in terms of getting to the postseason and winning ball games. So when you look at that, it's almost like a push for me between those two coaches. So now you go to the quarterback matchup. Who would you rather have, Caleb Williams or Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers is hurt. He's going to be looking to not take hits with that wrist. We all know that, right? So if that's the case, the ball may come out a little earlier than he wants it to. But if I had to pick between those two quarterbacks, you remove Caleb Williams' scrambling ability, and I'm telling you, he is a bottom third quarterback in my opinion. Aaron Rodgers, I got to give Aaron Rodgers the slide edge there, so I'll take Aaron. Now let's talk pass rush. Who has the better pass rushers, all right? Now you got these, I think they've still got Sweat, right, that plays for the Chicago Bears, if I remember correctly. Let's just take a quick look here at the lineup. Let me switch over. Bang. Yeah, so they got Montez Sweat grading out of 70.5. So that's their best edge rusher, I imagine. Let's go from their base to nickel just to make sure. Yep. So Montez Sweat is their best edge rusher. Which one would you rather have in terms of rushing the edge, Montez Sweat or TJ Watt? think we all know the answer there, right? We're probably going TJ Watt. So now it comes down to protecting the quarterback on the tackle position, another tier 1 position of importance. So we said I said, not you guys, I said the coach is a push, right? I give the slight edge to Aaron at quarterback. We give the edge at edge defender and pass rushing to TJ Watt and the Steelers. Now let's look at the pass protection, right? So on Pittsburgh's side, they got I think that's Broderick Jones, I believe. Jones at left tackle, 56.1. Fontenot at right tackle, 63.9. Okay, so both, let's say it averages out to low 60s there, right? And now let's switch over and just look at how the edge defenders look over here. So you got Benedette, if I'm saying that right, 56.4. And then they got, I think is that Darnell Wright? Yeah, Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, right down the road here, 10th overall pick, 77.4. Judging by PFF, you'd have to give their tackles the slide edge there. And by the way, you guys remember when we were talking in the offseason about free agency? We had 2 or 3 free agents that we liked, we wasn't crazy about, but the one that we had at the top of the list was Drew Dahlman at center. This one hurts, boys. Can you imagine if we didn't sign Aaron Banks and you signed Drew Dahlman? He's grading out at 82.3. So his last 3 years, 82, 78, 82. Imagine him playing center for the Green Bay Packers. If Elton Jenkins was still healthy, him at left guard, right? Our offensive line looks a lot better. So I really do that. I'm not very critical of Goody often, but that's one I really wish they would have signed. But nonetheless, when you look at the offensive line, you give the edge, in my opinion, at the tackle position to the Chicago Bears. So again, coaches push. You've got the quarterback matchup slightly in favor of the Steelers, edge rusher slightly in favor of the Steelers, along with Cam Hayward. We got to mention that. He's the top graded defensive tackle right now, according to PFF. He's just still a stud, right? So he'll help with the pass rush as well. And then you give the slight edge to offensive tackle play to the Bears. So what is that? 3 out of 4 go to the Steelers. Going to be a top one. I'd have the Steelers winning maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna put next to the Steelers, I'm gonna say they win by 4 points. All right. So that's my prediction there. Not going to give an actual prediction of the score. I'm going to say the Steelers win by roughly 4 points. That's how I would handicap that game if it were me. All right. So that is a little preview on the Steelers and the Steelers and the Bears. So Coach Lindsay, Clayton, you called this. Yeah. And I don't like to say, I told you so. I'm wrong all the time, man. I feel like if you're going to say I got that one right, then you damn sure better mention the ones you get wrong, right? And I get a bunch wrong. But that was one that I felt like we called it, Coach. We were all kind of talking about that, like, man, that would be, if it's a need, you let Josh Myers walk in free agency, pick up Drew Dahlman. And I always say that I feel like center is a position of tier 2 importance, right? I'll talk about tackles and quarterback being tier 1, center tier 2. That's all on offense. I don't have wide receivers as tier 2, tight ends as tier 2. It's center, tackles, and quarterback. That's where you should really put your focal point in your offense and then build everything around that. And it's obvious the Packers don't see it that way, right? Because they just thought, or maybe they thought Elton was going to be much better at center. That's unfair for me to say, right? If they thought, and listen, I'll be honest with you too. Here's one I got wrong, Coach. I thought Elton was going to improve tremendously moving to center, and I feel comfortable saying that didn't happen. So probably won't be here next year. So Coach Lynn says Banks is trending in the right direction, though, last 2 games. Very good point. But again, I just don't see guard as important as center. And, the rest of the NFL disagrees with that because obviously GMs spend way more money on guards than they do centers typically, right? Unless it's like a top center like a Drew Dahlman, our boy out there in Kansas City. I can't think of his name now, the one that got away from the Packers. But so anyway, I would give the Steelers the edge there. Roughly 4-point edge is what I'm thinking here. That doesn't mean that they're going to go out and win that ball game, right? It just simply means that that's kind of how I see the matchups right now. And I want to know what you guys think. If you're watching this video back later, let me know in the comments. How do you feel about the Steelers at the Bears? And you guys comment quick, too, when you watch this video tonight, because obviously the game's going to be kicking off at 12 Central tomorrow. And it is going to be, just so you know, on CBS. The forecast is 41 degrees and scattered clouds. So it's going to be a little chilly out there in Chicago. Probably be a little breeze. They don't have that mentioned. But, yeah, I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments. How do you see that game? Are you going with the Steelers or the Bears? Let us know. And if you like this type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. So I'm going to kick that one out of the system real quick. And now let's jump over to the next matchup, which is the New York Giants at the Detroit Lions. And boys, let me tell you, this one ain't pretty right here. I think this one could get ugly. And we're going to do the same process, walking through all the information, okay? So, boy, the Detroit Lions hosting the New York Giants, obviously going to be played indoors, so the forecast doesn't matter. Lions are 12-point favorites right now, okay? Actually, no, I'm sorry, 12.5-point favorites. PFF has it a little closer at 12 points. And, of course, 83% of the money is on the Lions to cover the spread. I got to be honest with you, man. I feel okay about going Giants plus 12.5 there. I could be wrong, but that's something to keep an eye on there. That's a lot of points, right? Now it is on the road. You're going to cover that. Probably going to happen at home, right? So, yeah, that's interesting. 12 points, it seems like a lot of points. But anyway, 83% of the money is on the Lions to cover. When you see that 83%, I feel even better about the 12.5 points, to be honest with you. When you got 83% of the public saying, yeah, Lions are covered by 12.5, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I would be hammering that 12.5. Not giving anybody gambling advice. That's not what we do here. That's my personal opinion. Okay. And never gamble, never bet one dime that you can't afford to lose. Okay. That's my advice tonight. That's the only gambling advice I give on here. Money line. Looks like the juice is 880 to diesel, Pete. And the money, 94% of the money are on the Lions. I would stay away from that one personally, just because the juice is so heavy. But yeah, I think the Lions are going to win this game. I just don't know if they're going to win by 12 points, or in this case, 13 points, let's call it, right? So let's look at the matchups here. The Lions are 6th overall, according to PFF, in overall ranking. They're 6th in defense as well. They're 7th in offense, okay? And their strength of schedule played is 3rd. So they get the 3rd toughest schedule so far. When you look at the Giants, 28th overall. Defensively, they're ranked 30th, according to PFF. Offensively, 21st. And then strength of schedule, they have played the 2nd toughest schedule this year, though. So that's why they're sitting at 2-9, right? And it's funny, too. You see the 2nd and 3rd toughest schedule here played, strength of schedule here for these two teams. And both of these teams have played the Packers. Says a lot about the Packers, right? Just saying. That's not a coincidence there. Now, let's look at some of the other rankings. I'm not going to have it on the screen, but I'm going to go to my PTA Power Rankings. You guys can find this in our Patreon group, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. So let's see where the Lions are ranking. I have them as the 3rd overall best team in the league with a 7.3 grade, or score, I should say. Okay. Offensive points per play, they're 3rd in the league. Defensive points per play allowed, they are 11th. So they essentially have a top 3 offense and pretty much a top 10 defense in terms of scoring. Offensive yards per play, they're 4th best in the league. Yards per play allowed on defense, they're 6th best in the league. So you have a legit top 5 offense, and you have a top 10 defense there. And their turnover differential, they're 8th best in the league. So they're doing everything good across the board. The only thing that's in the yellow on our chart here is the Lions' winning percentage. They're 12th best in winning percentage. Now, when you got everything else lining up in the green like that, for the most part, and you're not winning ball games, to me, the indicator, it's like this bright flashing bulb going, bad coaching in the sense that you're not making good game day decisions. Rewind to the Philly game, Detroit-Philly. What cost them that game? Dan Campbell going for it on 4th down. So again, I love it when the analytics, the numbers, the graphs, the things that we put together line up with what we see on the field, right? And what many of the opinions are going on around the league, like, what the hell is he doing? Like, give your team a chance. Play the field position, right? Pick up the invisible yards. Take the 3 points and put yourself in a position to win at the end. So I do feel like, and I could be wrong, I kind of feel like Chicago and Ben Johnson with the Bears, they're not being as aggressive going for it on 4th down. And you guys may know those numbers if you do fire them in the chat for everybody. But it kind of feels like they're not as aggressive going for it on 4th down as Ben Johnson with the Lions. So that's proven it's probably more of a Dan Campbell thing, right? So, again, this one, there's not a whole lot to talk about, really. Jared Goff, his play has dipped a little bit this year in terms of PFF grade. He's down to a 69.2. Jameis Winston is a 54.8. So there's your quarterback matchup. So let's go through the matchups that I like to go through real quick, okay? Quarterback match, or actually head coaching matchup. Who's got the better coach? The interim Kafka for the Giants or Dan Campbell? It's not even close. It's Dan Campbell, right? So there's one. Let's go to quarterback matchup. Jared Goff or Jameis Winston? I'm going Jared Goff all day long and twice on Sunday, right? So advantage Lions. Let's go offensive tackle play real quick. Actually, let's just go to pass rush here, okay? So let's look at the Giants pass rush in their nickel defense. You got Burns and you got Dexter Lawrence. 77-4 for Burns, 73-6 for Lawrence. Opposite side Carter. That's Abdul Carter, the rookie, 67.7. Remember what we said? If a rookie grades out in the 60s, pretty good indicator they're going to be a good football player. I think Abdul Carter is going to be a damn good football player based off what I've seen so far. And no surprise, where was he drafted at? Was it top 3? Yeah, third overall selection for Abdul Carter. He's a man bear. So pretty good pass rush there in terms of grades, right? Now let's switch it over to the Lions. You got Aiden Hutchinson with a 91.0. You got Aleem McNeil there playing defensive end in their base with a 47.4. Not good. Let's go to the nickel. So you got Hutchinson and you got Muhammad there at a 74.1. I would give the edge there to the Lions. Head coach, quarterback, pass rush, Lions, right? Now let's look at the offensive tackles. So for the Giants, they have the 5th best left tackle with an 86.0. And then their opposite tackle, Illuminor, I think is how you say it. Illuminor, 62.7 there. So stud at left tackle. Now let's switch over and check the Lions. You got Decker at left tackle, 65.2, and Penei Sewell, the best right tackle in the league there. So really what it comes down to is the second best tackle on each team. Decker at a 65.2, right? And then on the opposite side, you got Illuminor at a 62.7. So the edge there goes to the Lions. So all 4 facets of the game that I feel like are most important when you're picking games, it goes to the Lions. So for me, I'm going to put a 10 on the Lions here. I'm going to say the Lions win by 10 points. Now notice, you're going, Clayton, you said you think 12.5. I would. 10 points is not 12.5, right? It's a lot of points. It's a lot of points. I could be wrong tomorrow, but I love those games. The way I like to play this usually, guys, just so everybody knows, I typically won't take the points right off the bat. What I like to do is wait till the game kicks off, right, and get on wherever you're at, FanDuel, ESPN Bet, whatever, and look for the Lions to take an early lead. And what will happen is they'll jump up to an early lead, and that 12.5 line will go to like a 16-point line. And now you're going, okay, now I can get the Giants plus 16, or I can get them plus 14, or plus. You see what I'm saying? Let the Giants jump to an early lead, and then the live betting starts to kick off, and that sways a little bit more. Hammer that, bang. And of course, you guys know I'm a middle 8 junkie. I love watching the middle 8, the turnover differential, how those line up. As soon as the middle 8 wraps up, you can really do some damage live betting and go that route as well. Again, no gambling advice here, just telling you guys how I do it. And just assume that I am extremely horrible at gambling. That's the advice. Okay. So, again, does anybody disagree with that? Do y'all think the Giants can pull off an upset? Let me know in the chat as soon as possible. Fire it in there really, really quick. What's up, Michael? See you swinging through, buddy. Appreciate you, man. How do y'all feel about the Lions and the Giants here? What do you think? How do you think the Lions and the Giants is going to turn out here? Do you think the Lions run away with it? Do you think this could be an upset? Do you think Jameis Winston, after doing that Harlem Shake, got a little more magic in the tank? What do you think? Because I don't know, man. I think the Lions are going to run away with this one personally, man. That's just me. I know we're on a little bit of a delay here, so I will try to keep an eye on the chat and see what everybody says there. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we need to pay attention here. The line moved quite a bit, didn't it? Yeah, the line did move a little bit there early on, it looks like, right? So it started off 10.5, and as the week went on, 12.5, 13, came back to 12, back to 12.5, and settled in at 12.5. So it did jump. It started at 10.5. So it just shows you the money was really, really on the other side there for sure. Let's see what everybody's saying here in the chat as everybody's firing away here. C. Cole, good to see you, buddy. He says, I think the Giants could get it done. Goff is terrible under pressure. That's a fair point, right? What is his passer rating under pressure this year? Yeah. You know what's crazy, though, C. Cole? Not to bash on my Packers. I don't know if you're a Packers fan or not. I'm assuming maybe you are. Probably most people in here are. I think that's a better under pressure rating than Jordan Love has, which is wild to think about because Love has been so lights out in a clean pocket. But yeah, Jared Goff under pressure, 56.2. That's a great point. Maybe they can get after him, rattle his cage a little bit, right? Maybe that can happen. He says Goff is terrible under pressure, especially up the middle with Dexter Lawrence. Yeah, exactly. Pushing the pocket right back in his lap. That's a great observation. Great point there, man. Get him off his spot. He's not the same quarterback. Chase Green says the Giants can create pressure versus the Lions O-line. The Giants' run game is better than people expect. That's a fair point. I like the optimism, guys. How cool would it be if, as a Packer fan, if we're, watching the Packers and the Vikings, and let's, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, the Packers take care of business tomorrow. Let's say we look up and we got a 7-point lead going in the fourth quarter, and we look over and the Giants are holding a 3-point lead on the Lions. How cool would that be, right? Anything's possible. And that's what Bates says here. Anything is possible, but I think the Lions win easily. I do agree on the points, though. 12.5 is always a lot for any game. Doesn't matter, right? It could be Podunk University out there. Some of these college games are wild, man. If y'all get into live betting on college, you'll look up and you'll be catching plus 32.5. I'm like, where's my wallet? You know what I mean? And it's burned me a couple times, but we come out on top more often than not, to be honest with you. So let's see what else we got in here real quick. Ron Sample, Jen Wright says, I'm like, you're never late, Jen. You're good. Appreciate you swinging through on short notice. Ron Sample says, Lions should win easily. All right. I think I agree with that. Jen Wright says, anyone can win any game. That's any given Sunday. You got it right. Dark Arts Poker says, the Giants have what is technically called no chance. There you go. J. Cole says, Jameis got his ass whooped after that Harlem Shake. He really did. But Jay, didn't you love the Harlem Shake? I loved it, man. Listen, you guys hear my voice. I'm from the mountains of Caucasus. And everybody was making fun of him. He didn't have no rhythm. I thought he looked good. I thought Jameis looked good out there doing the Harlem Shake. C. Cole says, I'm a Bears fan. Hey, welcome, man. Appreciate you swinging through. Thanks for hanging out, man. Your Bears are hot. Listen, we've all, myself included, talked about they played an easy schedule. You can only play the opponents you play, and they've got a chance to shut everybody up right now. That's for sure. So we'll see how that goes against the Steelers tomorrow. They got a chance to get a monkey off their back by defeating Aaron Rodgers at Soldier Field, right? So that could kind of turn the page in a new era for the Chicago Bears, if you will. So Chase Green says, Clayton, do you like the I formation run look with tight ends as a fullback? I do, Chase, because the reason I think most coaches would agree, it's why there's hardly any fullbacks left in the league. They're few and far between. It's so predictable when you got a fullback, right? With a tight end, you can show 12 looks. You can flex the Y out. You can flex the U out, and you can try to create mismatches. Then all of a sudden you put on tape for 2 or 3 days that you got a 12 wide look, right? A 12 personnel with the U and the Y flexed out, say to the 1 and the 3 on one side. So you're really showing like a tray left spread look. And then all of a sudden you come into that game and they prepare for that. Well, guess what happens? Just to walk people through the process on the sidelines, when you've got coaches that are in control or in charge of personnel, right? So when they're watching and they see the other team, okay, they're going 12. Well, we prepared all week that when they're in their 12, they like to spread it out with a little tray left look out of 12. Okay, let's send in our personnel. Bang, you send them out there thinking they're going to show a little tray left look. They come out in the tray left and they shift with one of them into the backfield. Now you've got to decide, do we go from 1 gap to 2 gap approach in the run fit? And what are they going to do running the football? Now we're at a disadvantage because we prep for the other. Now look for this from LaFleur, not necessarily this week, but maybe a little later in the year. We've been showing those looks and then shifting the U into the backfield, essentially taking the U and turning them into an H-back pre-snap. Teams are going to start keying in on that. Now watch us break the huddle. Maybe not this week, but soon, with a I formation set or an offset I with an H, a tight end, a U playing the H, and then flexing the H out to the U and doing the same thing. It's what Matt LaFleur does so well, man. So me personally, I like to use tight ends that way because you can keep it very versatile and keep the defense from being able to key in on their scouting of your offense. And I learned this from Mike McCarthy's tenure in Green Bay, studying him. And he was one of these guys that was quality control and stuff coming up in the coaching ranks. He was very, very, very calculated, I guess you could say. One of my favorite coaches of all time is Coach Mike. And he was really, really good at what we call self-scouting, making sure that you've got a portion of your coaches, you got a small team of your coaches that's scouting your tape and coming back to your coaching staff each week and go, hey, if I were scouting you as an opponent, this, and this is predictable, right? And that's how they approach that. So C. Cole says the thing about the Bears season this year, it was never about contending, just seeing if Caleb has it. Everything else just has just been good to see. It's a really good way of looking at the season, C. Cole. And I've seen a lot of people say that too on X and YouTube, the fans that don't just come in and talk trash, right? I got a lot of Bears fans. People don't know that. A lot of Bears fans, friends, I should say. People don't know that, but they're good football guys, and I love talking Bears ball behind the scenes with them. You'll see me go off on Bears fans on social media because most of the time they just come in and talk trash, which that's what people do on social media, right? So I got to smack them down as if they're the worst franchise in NFL history because they come in and talk trash to me. But that's a great attitude to have. And what you're saying is spot on, Seco, spot on. I want to ask you, man, one last question to you, and I'm going to try to look for it in the chat. Do you think Caleb is the guy based off what you've seen? I personally don't to this point. His scrambling ability is elite. God, like that dude is as good as anybody scrambling with the football. But how do you feel about Caleb as, hey, he's the franchise quarterback moving forward? Because if you say, yeah, Caleb is that guy, just like we had to say, is Love that guy, then you've got to accept the fact that you're not going to continue to look for a franchise quarterback. Therefore, you may be missing out on the next Pat Mahomes, right? The next Jalen Hurts, the next, whoever you think might be better than those quarterbacks that we may deem above average or good, right? You're kind of settling for good when you could potentially have great. Do you think that he's the quarterback of the future for you? I'd really like to know what you think there, because you seem like a really, really level-headed Bears fan for sure, man. But me personally, I've seen enough love with the EPA and the advanced metrics and just the arm talent. I think we've got the guy. I'm curious to know if you think he's got it. Like Andy Watkins says here, this is one of the things that I've noticed on the tape with Caleb Williams is he holds on to it too long and takes too many sacks. And to Andy's point, but also to kind of push back a little bit, Andy, he also evades a lot of sacks, right? So imagine if he had the mobility of Jared Goff. If you took his ability to run the football away, where would you rank him as a quarterback? That's how I like to truly look at quarterbacks. The legs are an extra thing. That's an extra plus. That's icing on the cake, right? But if he can't be an effective quarterback sitting in the pocket, or you haven't seen enough, like maybe C. Cole's thinking here, to think he can be that dude moving forward, and he's only going to get better if you truly believe that, then that's a different way of approaching it, right? But like Jordan Love, he's not an elite scrambler, but he does create secondary windows with his scrambling ability to be able to throw those off balance throws and just absolutely, throw dime pieces. He shut some critics up last week, and again, it was against a bad Giants team. We're going to see what he can do against a decent Vikings defense this week. But yeah, we'll see if I'll try to look for your comment there on Caleb Seco. I'm interested to see what you think there, man. So there you go, guys. There is the lines. We got a little bit extra Bears talking there, but that's what this is for. I just wanted to be laid back. Let's talk NFC North. So that's the Giants at the Bears. I've got the Giants as 10-point favorites is the line I would put on this. And again, to go back, I've got the Steelers as 4-point favorites over the Bears as it sits right now. So let's see what C. Cole says about his boy Caleb Williams. He said Caleb is 5th in the league in pressure to sack, right? You have no idea what you're talking about, Andy. So here's last year, Cole. He held the ball extremely long, right? Last year, he was leading the league, last I checked, in sacks where he held the ball 4 seconds or longer. And people were raking him over the coals in the national media. He's playing much better this year. That's where I agree with you there. I think he has taken a step forward. Like I said, I just haven't seen enough, and it's probably still too early. Get him maybe 2 years under Ben Johnson, and then you probably know what you got there, right? So, but all right, Chase Green in the chat says, I want to see how our run defense can defend those outside runs with Jones and Mason tomorrow. Amen to that. We'll jump into a little Packers talk here. Then we'll do the playoff simulator, and we'll get out. Man, there's a bunch of people in there. Holy cow. 70, look at this, 260 people watching. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us, man. If y'all would take a quick second, hit that like button. And if you like this type of content, hit subscribe. This is just impromptu. Let's go live, talk a little North. Pretty cool to have this many people in here. So yeah, if you guys are watching this back later, let us know what you think about the Giants and the Lions. Are we giving too much credit to the Lions? Do you think the Giants have a chance at winning this ball game, and we're just way off base here? Or do you think, no, the Lions are going to run away with it? We want to hear from you in the comments. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. All right, now listen, we've covered this game quite a bit this week, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the Packers and the Vikings game. That's what you guys always get here. So I want to fall back here in a second and do the playoff simulator, talk about what's on the line for the NFC North matchups here. But again, just a quick glance, make sure the line hasn't changed. It's still at 6.5 points. So the Packers are 6.5-point favorites at home against the Vikings. The quarterback match, well, let's go through the rankings real quick. We talked about it earlier, but Green Bay is 4th overall. The Vikings are 18th. We're 13th overall. The Vikings are 17th. We're 5th overall in offense. The Vikings are 28th overall in offense. And then strength of schedule played, we played the 25th toughest schedule, so a fairly easy schedule, right? The Vikings have played a tough schedule with the 8th toughest schedule there, so that is something worth mentioning. And again, we've already talked about the line, 6.5 points, blah, 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 blah. Looks like 77% of the money are on the Packers to win outright. And looks like 53% of the money is on the Vikings plus 6.5. I like that number for Packers. I do. That makes me feel a little bit better about this game, that maybe we might be able to cover that spread, seeing that over half, or at least it's going to be a little bit closer. I would put that line a little bit closer. Let's go through what we just did with everything else, because we haven't done this yet this week. All right. Let's start with head coach versus head coach. Who has the better head coach? Is it KOC or is it Matt LaFleur? This is tough. KOC won coach of the year last year, but now we're seeing KOC without Sam Darnold, and it looks ugly, right? You've got KOC with all these weapons up there in Minnesota. You got your Justin Jeffersons, your Jordan Addisons, your Hawkinson, right? All that stuff. I mean, Matt LaFleur has the last I checked, it was 14th. He may have jumped to 13th or 12th all-time winning percentage. He's now got three different. He's got two quarterbacks that have won MVP that he's personally coached, whether it was a quarterback coach or the OC, right? In Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers. He was the quarterback coach for RG3 when he won Rookie of the Year that year. He went to the LA Rams for 1 year with Sean McVay as the OC, and that was one of Jared Goff's best statistical years in the NFL, right? So now you look at KOC, okay, he got Sam Darnold to play good. What else has he done, right? He basically handpicked J.J. McCarthy, a.k.a. 9, and he has looked like trash this year, okay? Again, the record kind of says everything that you need to know here, being 4-6 this season. So with all that being said, I got to give the nod to Matt LaFleur, a head coach, right? Mitchell's mommy looks like she agrees. She says Matt is better coach in my opinion. So there you go. I would agree with that. So again, you've had Matt LaFleur's made it to 2 NFC championships. So yeah, I would give Matt LaFleur the edge there. So there's one of the criteria, one of the ingredients for deciding this game, right? Let's go to quarterback matchup. Jordan Love, 84.4. J.J. McCarthy, I ain't even going to pull it up. Actually, I will just for craps and giggles here. 54.6. Edge goes to Jordan Love, obviously, right at quarterback. Now, let's talk offensive tackle play. Darisaw at left tackle, 67.5. Actually, no. Let's go in order like we did the others. Pass rushing. Micah Parsons, 91.9. Rashawn Gary, 70.1, right? So let's go over to the Vikings side. And they've got Grenard, 71.2. Van Ginkel, 63.8. Hands down, the Packers have the best pass rush, right? The better pass rush, the better edge defenders. So now let's go to, that's 3 out of 4 so far. Let's go to offensive tackle play. Rasheed Walker, 66.9. Zach Tom, 82.0. All right. So we got, once again, 66 and 82. They've got Darisaw, 67. O'Neal, 72. Advantage Packers. So you got all 4 of the advantage going to the Packers. I'm going to put this one at a 6 spot for the Packers. 6-point favorites is what I would handicap that game. So again, that's how I see all of the NFC North matchups up to this point, right? Steelers, I would make them 4-point favorites over the Bears. The Lions, 10-point favorites over the Giants. And the Packers, 6-point favorites over the Vikings. It doesn't mean that the Bears can't beat the Steelers at home, and the Bears are hot right now. But it does mean that all signs point to the Steelers are the better football team. But any given Sunday, man, wacky things can happen. If the Bears continue to protect the football and take the football away, and they just win that turnover differential by 1, and it may not be Aaron throwing an interception, it might be somebody fumbling the football. And we know how that goes in Chicago, obviously, right? So, and just one other thing with this Packers-Vikings matchup here, just to add to it. 30 degrees is what they're saying right now. Green Bay, Wisconsin, 30 degrees, few clouds. All right, 1 o'clock kickoff. So it sounds like it's going to be a chilly day in Green Bay. I thought it was going to be a little bit warmer than that. And some of these, you got to do your own research there. Sometimes these forecasts on PFF, sometimes I think I've looked up and been like, is that the current weather or are they talking about kickoff weather? So sometimes they can get that wrong. So just do your own research there if you're trying to come up with a line yourself there. So there you go. There are your NFC North preview matchups. Now let's shift gears and we're going to wrap the show up with the playoff simulator. I love doing this every week. This is one of my favorite things to do if I can find it here. Where did you go, sir? Here we go. All right. So we're going to put the playoff simulator on the screen. You guys can find this over at ESPN. So you'll notice at the top of the screen, you got all the matchups from this week. The Texans have already been checked because they won their game against the Bills there on Thursday Night Football, which, by the way, you notice how when Josh Allen, I about said a bad word, when Josh Allen craps the bed, it's just like, oh, it happens. When somebody like Jordan Love or Caleb Williams or Jerry Goff craps the bed, boy, they love to jump all over it, don't they? Isn't it amazing how they get their favorites? Like Pat Mahomes could have a horrible game. He's still the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's funny how some quarterbacks, they get their passes, right? So for what it's worth. All right, here's how the standings look right now going into week 12, tomorrow's matchups, okay? Let's start with the AFC. We'll breeze through that because we want to really focus on the NFC. The number 1 seed is the Denver Broncos. Number 2 seed is the Patriots. 3 seed is the Colts. 4 seed are the Steelers at 6-4. 5 seed is the Chargers at 7-4. The 6th seed is the Buffalo Bills at 7-4. And the 7th seed is the Jacksonville Jaguars at 6-4. What does all that mean? If the playoffs were to start today, before the games play tomorrow, Denver would have the first round bye. You would have the New England Patriots hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. You'd have the Colts hosting the Buffalo Bills, and you'd have the Steelers hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. That's how the AFC shakes up here. Okay, now let's jump over to the NFC, which is really what we're all here for, right? The number 1 seed is the Philadelphia Eagles. The 2 seed is the LA Rams. The 3 seed is the Chicago Bears, leading the North right now at 7-3. The 4 seed is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 6-4. Isn't it crazy? We were talking about the Buccaneers potentially being the best team in the NFC earlier in the year. They're down to a 6-4 record now, right? The 5th seed is the Seattle Seahawks at 7-3. You got the Green Bay Packers as the 6th seed at 6-3-1 right now. And you got the San Francisco 49ers as the 7th seed at 7-4. So if the playoffs were to start today, the Philadelphia Eagles would have the first round bye. You would have the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Los Angeles to play the Rams. That'd be a fun matchup there. Kyle Shanahan versus Sean McVay, old buddies, right? Old coaching buddies. You would have the Green Bay Packers traveling to Chicago, just like 2010 when we won a Super Bowl, just saying, to face, of course, that was the NFC Championship, so it is a little bit different, I would imagine. You got the 6th seed Green Bay Packers traveling to Chicago to play the 3rd seed Chicago Bears, and you got the 5th seed Seattle Seahawks traveling to Tampa Bay to face the number 4 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So now let's go through and pick these games, all right? When I say pick them, what we're going to do is we'll pick the AFC just to kind of get them checked here, and then we're going to reset everything and go back and kind of give everybody from a Packers standpoint, because we are a Packer-centric show, we're going to show you best and worst case scenario for the Packers this week. All right, so let's go in. Colts at the Chiefs. I'm going to give the edge to the Chiefs here being at home. I know the Colts are playing good football. Actually, let me just pop over here real quick. Indy's the 2nd best team in the league right now for me. Kansas City is the 13th best team in the league right now. Actually, 12th best. I apologize. I got that wrong. No, that's right. 2nd best for Indy, 12th best for Kansas City. It's Kansas City at home. I wanted to pick the Chiefs there. It's tough. Chiefs are pretty much playing for their lives right now, too. What's the standings here? The Chiefs, they're sitting at 5-5. Do they have a shot? If they win out, they've got a shot to make the playoffs, right? That's an uphill battle. I'm going to go with the Colts there. All right. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on these. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. All right. So let's go next game, Steelers at the Bears. We said the Steelers 4-point favorites, so we're going to pick the Steelers there. These are what I think is going to happen, and then we'll do best case and worst case scenario, okay? Patriots at the Bengals. We got to go Patriots. All right. Jets at the Baltimore Ravens. I got to give that to the Baltimore Ravens at home. Seattle Seahawks at the Tennessee Titans. Seahawks are winning that game. The Green Bay Packers against the Minnesota Vikings. We have the Packers as 6-point favorites, although the market has them at 6. Was it 6.5? No, 7. Some had 7. Some markets had 7. Some had 6.5. We got it at 6 points. So let's go Packers with what we think the pick will be. Giants at the Lions. I think we pretty much all agree the Lions are probably going to win that ball game. Jaguars at the Cardinals. That's a tough one. Let me go to my cheat sheet here. Jacksonville, I've got as the 17th best team, and I've got Arizona as the 22nd. So Jacksonville on the road. I'm going to go with the Jaguars on the road to beat the Cardinals tomorrow. Browns at the Raiders. That's a toilet bowl this week. Every week there's a toilet bowl. You guys notice that? Browns at the Raiders would be Cleveland is the 23rd best team according to my chart. All right. The Raiders are the 27th best team. So Cleveland should have the slight edge, although it is in Vegas. I'm going to say, when you think pass rush, coaches, all that, yeah, I'm going to go with the Brownies there on the road to beat the Raiders. Falcons at the Saints, I'd have to go with the Falcons without even having to look at it. Eagles at the Cowboys. Cowboys are having a real down year, right? I've got the Cowboys as the 21st best team. That's wild to think about coming into this season, right? So the Cowboys is the 21st best team. Philly is in the 8th spot on my rankings here. So we're definitely going Philly on the road in Dallas. And then we'll go Tampa at the LA Rams. The LA Rams are the best team, according to my data here in our PTA power ranking system. So we get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down in the 15 spot, believe it or not. They've dropped significantly, and they're really they're bad on defense, man. Defensive points per play, they're 24th in the league. They're 23rd in yards per play. So just bad on defense all the way around. Now, they are 3rd best in turnover differential. So if they have a heavy turnover day and they protect the football, that could win on the ball game. But still, I'm going to have to go with the LA Rams at home there. And then the Carolina Panthers at the San Francisco 49ers. I think that's going to be the Niners all day. So if everything occurs the way we just said here, all right, Seco, you might want to turn away for a second again. If everything goes this way, you get the Steelers beating the Bears, right? The Lions are going to beat the Giants. And let's say we take care of business and beat the Vikings. All of a sudden, the Packers are in first place in the NFC North. They're now the number 3 seed. And everything that we just picked, you'll notice the Bears are officially out of the playoffs if that happens that way. Okay? So it's really something to kind of think about. That's what's – and this – listen, this could happen this week. It could go completely opposite next week. And the Bears are right back in first place in the North. That's the beautiful thing about this time of year, right? It's really, really, really fun to watch the playoffs. I actually like this better than the playoffs. I love the last few weeks of the season where everything's on the line. You're kind of coming down the stretch here and really seeing how everything's going to play out. And I think this is just an awesome, awesome time to watch professional football. College football too, man. People are like, oh, the college football playoffs, when does that start? It's already started. Every week there's a game where if a team gets beat, they're going to be out of the playoff hunt. And it's like you get halfway through the college football season now and the playoffs have already started. That's the best thing they could have ever done in college football is extend those playoffs and try to get it as close to the professional format as possible. Let's see what C. Cole says here, because, again, we kind of talked about his Bears quite a bit. He says, I don't think Chicago wins a playoff game regardless this year. We don't have the pass rush. You never know, though, Cole. Like nobody expected us to win the Super Bowl in 2010, but to take what you just said, though, we don't have the pass rush. We did have the pass rush, right? We had Clay Matthews, we had B.J. Raji, and we had the number 1 defense in the league, right? The Bears is kind of the opposite because, like, the rankings I've got on the Bears, they're the 14th best team, but defensively, points per play, they're 30th. Yards per play, they're 30th. So I'm with you there. I don't think they have a legit shot to win a playoff game. But like you said, man, in a year that you guys are looking at like, hey, we're kind of seeing what we got in Caleb and see if Ben Johnson and that whole thing gels. Like I said, man, I tip my cap to your attitude toward the season, man. That's the right way to fan right there. That's like I look at the Packers, and there's some Packer fans that are like, if we don't win the Super Bowl, fire everybody's ass, right? That's how they feel. And I'm looking up going, we're the youngest team in the league. I do feel like the Super Bowl window is open, right? Like if I were to give you the metrics on the Packers right now, I've got Green Bay as the 5th best team in the league, all right? And you're going, how do you have that? They're 8th in winning percentage right now, okay? They're 14th in points per play. That's the only thing bringing them down is their offensive scoring. And now we're starting to get people back like Jaden Reed and Christian Watson just came back. So you're starting to see that start to recover a little bit, right? But we're 14th in offensive points per play. Defensive points per play, however, which is defensive scoring metric I use, they're 5th best in the league. They're not in offensive yards per play, which shows you they're moving the freaking football, right? So really makes you feel good about that. And then defensive yards per play allowed, they're 3rd. So you've legit got the Green Bay Packers have a top 5 defense, and they've got, I feel comfortable saying, around the 11th or 12th best offense. So that's kind of in that ballpark, right? Now, the thing that's hurt them is turnover margin is 13th. And it's not because we're giving the ball away a lot. We're just not taking the ball away like we did last year, which I kind of expected that going into the season. That's why I'm looking up going, yeah, the Super Bowl contention window is open. I don't feel great about it this year, but it's definitely open. If you make a couple key adjustments in the offseason, if you get hot this year, you can make it happen. But if you make a couple key adjustments in the offseason, you can really set yourself up for that year 2 and 3 of that 3-year window really having a chance to make a run at it. So that's why I've got Green Bay 5th ranked. And again, when you look at some of the metrics, their offensive points per play being 14th and their turnover margin being 13th, and your 8th in winning percentage, very, very different from Detroit, where you look at the metrics and go, boy, that sounds like a crappy coaching job. This looks like it's a good coaching job. And that's where I get raked over the coals with most Packer fans, because I think Matt LaFleur has done one hell of a job coaching. You're missing your number one wide receiver in Jaden Reed. He's led the team in receiving the last 2 years. I don't care who you think the number one is. I look at the hard facts, and the reality is he was our best receiver the last 2 years. You've been without him. You lose your number one tight end, who was your leading receiver this year, with Jaden Reed being out since week 2, right? You lose your starting center. Sooner or later, we've got to acknowledge, maybe Matt LaFleur is doing a pretty damn good job with what he's got. He's already got the youngest roster in the league, and now everybody's getting banged up. Like, you're probably going to be without Quay Walker. You're definitely, I don't say definitely, he's doubtful tomorrow. You're going to be without Quay Walker, your green dot Mike Backer tomorrow. That's going to hurt. So just find ways to win ball games, man. That's what you got to do. So anyway, with how we picked, how we think things are going to turn out, that's how we're sitting right now. Okay. Now let's back up and let's just focus on the North. Let's leave everything in place and let's change a couple things. All right. Let's say worst case scenario for the Packers. Actually, best case scenario for the Packers. The only thing that would change best case scenario for the Packers is if the Giants upset the Lions. So you would have the Steelers beating the Bears, Packers beating the Vikings, and let's say the Giants upset the Lions. Notice this number 7 seed down here, right where Detroit's at. They're the number 7 seed as this sits right now. If the Giants win that ball game, the Bears are the 7th seed now, and the Lions are out of the playoffs. So that's what's on the line for that Lions game. So, C. Cole, you being a Bears fan, man, if you're going into tomorrow, obviously you want all the NFC North teams to lose. That's what's on the line there, right? Even if you lose to the Steelers, if somehow the Giants beat the Lions, you can still be the number 7 seed on what you were talking about. Hey, this is a year we're trying to figure out what we are, So you guys are in a pretty good spot, man. It's going to come down to you guys playing better opponents now for the rest of the year. And that's going to determine, okay, are we real or not, right? Because if you go out there and you get beat by a couple scores by the good teams, then okay, we're not as far along as we needed to be. And it's going to be a good test for Caleb to get that answer you're looking for on whether or not is he the dude moving forward, right? And it sounds like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it kind of feels like you think he is the guy. And that's where we probably agree to disagree. I just haven't seen quite enough with him and Ben Johnson yet. It may, by the end of the year, I may be going, damn, he's the best quarterback in the North. I don't see that happening, but I've been wrong many times before. All right. Yeah, you're so true there. Snow Junkie in the chat says Thanksgiving's going to be good. It's going to be great, man. What he's talking about is obviously, or she, I apologize, he or she. If we go to next week, week 13, I want to leave this the same for a second. That matchup right there on Thanksgiving, Lord have mercy. They're going to be so much on the line. Packers at the Lions. They're holding Jaden Reed out. He came back and practiced one day. The goal is to get him ready for Thanksgiving against the Lions to come back in that game. Josh Jacobs with the knee injury, they're going to be real cautious with him tomorrow. I don't know if he'll play it off. If he does, I think he'll be on a limited snap count. Get him ready. And we're already thinking, set ourselves up for Thanksgiving because that's going to be a huge North matchup. Let's fall back, though, to week 12 this week, the games that are happening tomorrow. All right, so when we look at this, we showed you best case scenario for the Packers, right? And back to C. Cole, since we are talking North in general, right? Let's say the Bears, let's say everything happens that way. The Packers beat the Vikings and the Giants beat the Lions, and you do indeed beat the Steelers tomorrow. Look at that. You're the 3 seed and we're the 6 seed. So you got yourself, you're in a good spot, real good spot. So now let's go worst case scenario for Packer fans. We're almost there, right? Let's say the Lions win their game. We've already got the Bears picked to win. And let's say we lose to the Vikings tomorrow. If that happens, now the Packers are out of the playoffs, right? And the Bears are the 3 seed. The Lions are the 7 seed. That's how that would sit. So that's what's on the line for tomorrow. Now, if we go back to how we originally had it picked, Steelers beating the Bears, Packers beating the Vikings, Lions beating the Giants, and we go to week 13, we go into week 13, Thanksgiving Day, on a short turnaround, 4-day turnaround, right? As Coach or as Pack Daddy says here in the chat, good to see you, Ron. He says, huge game, huge game. So if you go into this game right here, right, and the Packers are the number 3 seed, and they're leading the North. The Lions are the 7th seed. Let's say the Lions beat the Packers on Thanksgiving. Boom. The Lions are in first place, and the Packers are out of the playoffs. That's before the Bears play the Eagles, right? So how quick, if the Eagles beat the Bears, Green Bay's the 7th seed, and the Lions are the 3 seed. Is anybody else having fun? I love this. I said another bad word. I love this crap, man. This time of the year is just so much fun, man, to kind of see how everything's going to unfold. Now, let's say that the Packers beat the Lions on Thanksgiving, right? They're going to hold that 3 seed. And let's say the Eagles beat the Bears. Now the Packers are leading the North at 8-3-1. The Lions are 7-5, and the Bears are out of the playoffs. And you got a little bit of cushion for the Packers. That tie's looking good, boys. I'm just saying. A lot of people mad about that tie. I'm glad we had it. I'm glad we got it, man. Glad we got it. I see here General Kratos 97 in the chat. Appreciate you, buddy. Says NFC West used to be the Packers kryptonite. Now it's the Eagles. I want to disagree with you, but facts are facts, man. You know, until you beat that team, that's a fact you just said. I have to concede. C. Cole says this week is big for Chicago too. Steelers are beatable. Absolutely, they're beatable. 100%, man. But we got Philly on a short week next week, right? Yeah. So let's say the Packers beat the Lions next week and the Bears beat the Eagles. The Bears are back in the 7th seed, right? Now let's say the Lions beat the Packers and the Bears beat the Eagles. Bears are still the 7th seed and the Lions are the 3 seed. So that's what's on the line, man. And again, some of the other NFC matchups are going to determine whether let's say San Francisco here next week, they play the Browns. Let's say the Browns upset them up there in Cleveland. Let's say the wind's horrible. In that godforsaken stadium, and it's just horrible weather and something fluky happens, the Browns win, all of a sudden the Bears climb to the 6th seed, right? You got the 5th seed Seattle Seahawks here. Who are they playing? Who the Seahawks got? The Vikings. Let's say the Vikings go up there and upset the Seahawks. All of a sudden the Bears are the 5 seed, right? So that's the stuff that's on the line this time of year, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Tell you what ain't going to be fun. Going down and facing my wife here in a second because I told her I was going to do a 20-minute episode. We're an hour, 2 minutes into this. This happens every night. I'm blaming every one of you. So anyway, we're going to get out of here, guys. Just wanted to do a quick little preview. I'm going to try to do this every Saturday night. This is a fun Saturday night show. We had a good turnout. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. If you're watching on X, we get a lot of people on X. Click on my profile. You'll see the YouTube link. It's much more enjoyable. It's a lot more fun if you guys are in the YouTube chat because you can see everybody else's comments rather than just watching on X. So click on that YouTube link, hit subscribe, and click that bell icon so you know when we do this in the future. And I want to thank every other fan. I've seen fans from multiple teams in here. Thank y'all for being cordial. And hopefully nobody got rude with you. Hopefully our listeners were good like that. Typically our crowd is, if you come in respectful, we're respectful. If you start talking trash, it gets ugly quick. So thank y'all so much for being just being civil in here and just talking ball, man. The reality is whether you're a Bears fan, a Packers fan, a Lions fan, a 49ers fan, or for some reason you're a Tennessee Titans fan. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but let's say that's the case. We all want our favorite teams to win, and we just love keeping up with the league, right, in general. So it's been a lot of fun talking ball with all of y'all. iRock says, go Pack, go. Yes, sir. You know it. Deadfish, you have a good evening, buddy. Paging Dr. Crutch, have a great evening to you, sir. Appreciate you. Mitchell's mommy with the important message. Sorry, Mandy Clayton, blame us. She don't think she's going to believe that. We just celebrated 25 years together. We've been together for 25 years. You think she thinks it's somebody else's fault other than this guy right here? No fooling her on that. So, yeah. Green Marble says, Titans fans catching strays. They are. I got some Titans fans downstairs right now. My brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, Titans fan, and they would agree with me right now. It's an absolute crap show down there. The fact that you let Mike Vrabel out of that building, he goes to the Patriots, turns that franchise around just like that, and you guys are still in the dumps. That's what happens when an owner gets involved, and that's why all of us, including Ryan, especially Ryan Schlip with Packernet Podcast, like, why the hell would you want an owner? People, they act like we're hindered because we don't have a fat cat billionaire owner calling the shots, with us being the only publicly owned franchise in any sport, much less the NFL, or even more the NFL, I should say. I'm glad we're not. I'm glad we don't have an owner because that ownership came in there, ran Vrabel out of town. They screwed the poo. They set that franchise back. They better hope the second coming of Vince Lombardi's around the corner somewhere because they're going to be in the dumps for a while. So, yeah. All right, that's it, guys. Do me a favor, hit like, subscribe, click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. Bates says, thank you, Clayton. Chat. Catch everyone tomorrow morning. Thank you, Bates. That's right. Without Bates, I wouldn't even know it. Going live tomorrow morning. All right. I'm trying to think of the time here. It's a 12 Central kickoff. We're going to go live at 10:45 a.m. Central for the PTA pregame show. We'll give you sights and sounds, live footage from inside Lambeau Field for this matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. We'll give you all the latest on the actives and inactives, all that good stuff in case something shakes up there. I think we got a pretty good grab on who we're expecting to play, but it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Just grab your coffee, if you're snacking all day doing your own tailgating at home, grab you a plate of food and come sit down in front of the TV, in front of the computer, in front of the phone, and come hang out with us for the PTA pregame show. Appreciate you, Coach. Everybody in here. Thank y'all so much. It's too many to mention. But y'all have a wonderful night. We'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm going to go get some rest and try to save my marriage. We'll see you. This is PTA. My name's Clayton. Go Pack, go.
Here we go.
We're out.
Bye, guys.